Okay, now hip flexors are really important. Remember today I said that if you want to increase your performance or you just want to be able to wipe your own arse at 90, you need to be looking after your hips. What people tend to do is they'll do loads of these so-called ab exercises and massively overdevelop and quite often shorten the hip flexors. So they end up with tightness, they end up with a tilted pelvis and all this kind of stuff, lower back problems, all because we've overworked these too much. Okay, so let me explain abs. Okay, so we talk about abs. So when we talk about abs and working the core, right, there's actually a good few muscles that make up the abs, not just these. Anyone know the proper name for them? Transverse abdominis it's called. Okay, so it's like a big massive slab of muscle that sits around here, big slab. Okay, and then across it you've got little tendons like this. Okay, and that's what separates and gives you that definition. Now genetics dictates how defined your abs are. It is genetics, that dictates that. Now, as well as that, if you imagine this is a side profile view of your abs, genetics will dictate how deep these are, therefore how defined they are, but also your diet will dictate how obvious these abs are. Do you know what I mean? Because if we're carrying what we call subcutaneous fat there, it's covering it up, isn't it? So the idea of bringing abs out is not about the exercise you're doing, it's about...
Is that your percentage of body fat when you talk about some...
So what we say about abs is if your body fat percentage is below 10%, there's a good chance your abs will come out. But some people's abs are out, and they're just out. It's genetics. Other people can get to like 4 or 5% body fat before they start to show any kind of abs, and it really is just genetics.
And what's a normal? What's a healthy body fat? Is it 17 to 20%, or is it?
Yeah, it's different for males and females.
Okay.
But what I always kind of say is that's kind of irrelevant if your clothes fit. You know what I mean? And they're not too tight, and you're comfortable in yourself, and you can. If you need to run for the bus, you can run for the bus because you're fit enough to do that, or you can run up the stairs. So let's move on. So you've got your transverse abdominis there. Then you've also got some muscles on the side. Anyone know what they're called?
Obliques.
Obliques, yeah, and you've got inner and outer obliques. So already we can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 muscles there. Yeah, then we've got a big muscle that goes down the centre of the back. Anyone know what that is? No, multifidus. That's the next one. Okay, multifidus, which goes all the way down the spine, looks after the spine. Then we've got another one that sort of sits like this. What's that, Adam?
Rectus spinae.
Yeah, rectus spinae, or rectus spinae, if you're American. We've then got this one that sits along the bottom. Females, what's that?
Pelvic floor.
Pelvic floor. Okay, now we've got another muscle then that runs across the middle of the chest, across here, helps with our breathing, what's it called? The diaphragm. So all these muscles here, the way they work, remember that muscles can only pull together, you can't do anything else. So when we talk about our core, what is our primary use of our core? What it wants to do is pull everything together and provide us with a stable platform for which to push, jump, sprint, climb, pull, all these different movements. It gives us a solid platform, all pulls together like a corset. That's how your core wants to work. Alright, so our so-called ab exercises, how many muscles are we working there? That's part of the core.
One.
Just one. You're just working one muscle there. Alright? We're not working the core how it needs to be, how it wants to work, how it works best. Okay, so the best exercises then are anything that causes this to contract and act like a corset. You pick up a keg, carry it above waist level, what's happening? All tightens up, doesn't it? Yeah, so you're working your abs there, but you're strengthening your back, you're strengthening your abs, your obliques, your diaphragm's having to work, your pelvic floor, everything's having to contract. So that's a reason why I'm not into these so-called ab exercises.
But is that what baby carries do?
Yeah, the baby carries, carrying your handbag, it's a massive, running itself. People underestimate, the effect that running and sprinting has on your abs. Because if you imagine, simple physics, you want to transfer force, you've got to have a solid platform, haven't you, from which to do that. Okay, if this wasn't tight, yeah, it'd be like jelly, we wouldn't be able to transfer force, not you jelly, you wouldn't have jelly, okay, onto the ground. We wouldn't be able to run. So every time we run, yeah, especially sprinting, we're having to really, really pull this track. Look at the sprinters, the sprinting out there, they are ripped, aren't they? Massive six packs because they need that to transfer the power down to the ground.
Why would boxers do a lot of floor work like sit-ups and crunches and stuff?
It's just old school type training.
Is that why?
That's all it is, and if you look at training now, MMA, how MMA fighters do, very few of them will get down and do 1,000 sit-ups like they used to do in the 60s. You know, it just doesn't work like that, because strength and conditioning, coaches have switched on to this now. They know what's going on here. We're now doing kettlebell swings, we're doing tyre slams, any kind of climbing, jumping, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So what happens here then, and this is why I really am opposed to this, is because two things. First of all, ladies, if you're trying to narrow your waist, which quite often you're trying to do, if we work a muscle, what's going to happen to the muscle? It's going to grow. Yeah, so in fact we're actually having an adverse effect if we're doing lots of sit-ups. Yeah. So as well as that, if we overwork one muscle, all right, and fail to work the other muscle, we'll then end up with a bit of a weakness. And this is why so many people have got lower back injuries, you know, or when we're doing lots of kettlebell swings and all of a sudden it's starting to fatigue. And you're not hurt anything, it's just, you know, if you did that for ages and ages, your bicep would eventually fail, wouldn't it? You know, with fatigue. It's the same. The fatigue levels in your lower back are so much lower than that of the abs, because the abs are too much more thing. So, and the cruncher for this is, this really won't take effect until you start getting into your 40s and 50s and all your muscles start to tighten up and all this kind of stuff, and that's when we start getting our lower back issues. Yeah. So when you go home now and you're thinking, right, let's do a few sit-ups, forget the sit-ups, you know, think about what you're trying to achieve, and if you just want a better core, pick something up. You know, if you're doing weights, all right, try and do it one-handed, because the minute we do something one-handed, our core is having to contract, work as a corset, isn't it? The minute we sort of go like that, think already we're having to work harder. You know, if you think about doing like a bench press, and we lie on the bench, it's not using any of this. Now, if we do a press up, what's happening?
Using all of it.
Using all of it, aren't you?
So would a one-handed kettlebell swing be better than a two-handed?
But a kettlebell swing is brilliant. If you look at, you know, what's going on in a kettlebell, in order to transfer that weight up to there, you've got to have a solid platform here, and everything's pulling together nice and tight.
Yeah,
you know?
Because I find it easier with a one-handed one as opposed to a two-handed one.
Yeah. But there's probably a few different reasons for that. It might be that you just get to open up your chest and you can breathe a little bit better. You know, it's just naturally a bit more comfortable. You know, but one hand, two hand doesn't really matter too much. The important thing is you do it. The one thing I always try and do with my training is I try to disregard exercises, because if someone says I do a press up, we could all do a press up now and go, that's not the correct form for a press up. You know, if I say to you, all we can do is push. What's push? You know what I mean? It's just a movement, innit? You know, it's not an exercise. So if you looked at exercises in terms of movements instead of what the textbook said it should be, your training is going to be so much better as well. You know. James's question was, how come when I was carrying a log, was my breathing restricted? Right, so if we're carrying a log on our shoulder, what's happening to here?
So it's all getting pushed
That's
down.
all contracting in it. What's this muscle? Diaphragm, which controls our breathing. So, everyone see that? Our diaphragm is having to contract, pull everything together in order to carry that weight and to be able to run with that.
Just when I was going uphill as opposed to downhill was fine. Is that just because it's a tougher gradient?
Yeah, you've just got gravity, haven't you?
Okay, yeah.
That was working against you. Same with the deadlift. I don't know if you recognise, but every time you went to pull, you'd go, you know what I mean, and you hold your breath, because that gives you what they call inter-abdominal pressure. It builds up all this pressure here. It gives you a solid platform from which to transfer that force. So, is that new? Is that new to people?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how's it relevant to your training? Well, first of all, just be aware of overdeveloping these abs in search for a six-pack. You know, if you went into the gym and said, right, what's the best exercise for that? Well, you're in the wrong room. You need to be in the kitchen, because that's where abs are formed. You know, it's about getting your body fat percentage down. And then also recognise that we had this conversation before, we got calves, didn't we? You know, some people genetically got big calves. I've got tiny calves, you know what I mean? It's just the way, it doesn't matter how many calf raises I do, they're always going to be small. I might be able to grow, you know, a fraction, but genetically I've just got small calves. So, I'm happy with that.